Hey, what's going on, folks? This is Balaji O with the Braver New World, striving to create a braver new world for our kids. I want to give you guys an update on what Braver New World is all about. So first, before I can explain where we are now, let me explain some history. It all started out about 6 years ago. My older son was about 3-4 years old, and I was starting to tell him a lot of bedtime stories. My wife said to me one day, you ought to write some of these stories down. So I said, yeah, I've always enjoyed reading. I've always wanted to sort of write books, so why not? Why not go for it? So I decided to start writing these stories down, and Super Sammy is the very first book that I published. This actually is a story about my older son. Super Sammy doesn't necessarily look like him, but it's a universal story about kids and imagination. But what I found was that I now had an opportunity. I had the opportunity to not just tell stories for entertainment, but to actually kind of impart a lot of the lessons that I learned when I was a kid to my kid. And that's where Brave Little Heroes started. So over the next couple of years, I published about a dozen books. We had the Monster Diary series. We had, I think, That Dragon Stole My Horse. Books like that. We had Negative Nelly and Negative Ned. We had a lot of fun books. I had a whole fantasy book series that I need to make into paperback. It's a Kindle version now about a dragon named Tamilore. Amazing story. The Super Z formula story. So some really good stuff for younger kids. The thing is, as my older son started to get older and read longer books, more mature books, he's 9 years old now, I decided to start writing longer books as well. So instead of just picture books, I have those dozen or so picture books available on Amazon today. I started to write books for tweens, okay? So now kids who are reading short chapter books, I started to write these books in series versus standalone books. So Braver New World is the next division, the new division of Brave Little Heroes. Brave Little Heroes is for kids ages 4 to 8. A lot of pictures in there, a lot of superhero themes. Through all of my books, I'm always trying to teach kids to find their own superpower, find their own identity, do for others, try to make the world better, all that good stuff. But we have fun with it. But for Braver New World, we now have 15-year-old characters, so they're more mature characters dealing with more mature subjects. I decided, though, my wife always gets on me on this. She's like, when you kind of latch onto something, you just go, way overboard. I decided to challenge myself because I have so many ideas of what I want to do with Braver New World with all these superheroes. I decided, look, I'm just going to go all in. I'm not going to do one book or two books and see how it goes. Okay? No, I'm going all in. So a few months ago, I challenged myself to publish 52 books in 52 weeks. Yep, you heard me right. 52 books in 52 weeks. Now, I have about 5-6 years under my belt publishing, Guess that about makes me an expert? No, it really doesn't. I mean, I'm still learning. There's so much I don't know yet, but I know enough about myself to know that if I don't give myself a big goal to go after, I'm going to get bored. Life is going to happen. And a lot of times, if you don't get into a rhythm, if you don't kind of have a long-term view for what you're trying to tackle, if you just take a couple of steps and hope it's going to pan out, it doesn't work out. So I'm doing 52 books in 52 weeks, and after a solid year of publishing a new superhero book for tweens every Friday, after a whole year of doing that, then maybe I'll come up for air and kind of see how things are looking. So let me tell you a little bit about these series. These heroes that I'm going to be featuring, each one will come from a different country, okay? So we have El Valiente, Juan Carlos Hidalgo Rodriguez. He's from Mexico City in Mexico. We have Kid Clever. He's from Detroit, Michigan in the USA. We have Shaima Ramalia. She is from Cairo, Egypt. We even have Melandria. She is from Mars. Yes, Mars, the planet. So we're going all over the world and even beyond the world to find teen coming of age stories. Now let me tell you a little bit more about these stories. not only will they be coming of age stories, each hero is going to have just one power. We don't want the whole Superman effect. I know I'm wearing the Superman shirt today. We don't want the whole Superman effect where the heroes are overpowered. These kids will have exactly one power, and they will have an ironic flaw or characteristic they need to overcome. So Juan Carlos, El Valiente, his power is that he can fly. Well, guess what? He's afraid of heights. Oh, that's kind of awkward. He has a lot of machismo, okay? But he gets panic attacks. That's kind of a problem. Let's talk about Kid Clever from Detroit. This guy is a mechanical genius. He builds robots, he builds all kinds of things, but he's dyslexic. So he gets C's and D's and sometimes F's in school, even though he works hard. This kid works hard. Don't get me wrong, this kid is not lazy. He's hardworking, but it just takes him a lot longer to process written material. Okay, let's talk about Sandstorm. Sandstorm is a very strong-headed, strong-willed, hard-headed, okay, young lady from the deserts of Cairo, Egypt. The problem that she has, she can control sand, which is great, but she has asthma. She has asthma, so that's an issue for her. You'll notice that with a lot of these heroes, or you will notice if you haven't yet, that I really dig deep to try to find stories that aren't being represented in the mass media right now. You know, I grew up reading Spider-Man and Incredible Hulk and the X-Men, and I love those stories. Those are timeless, universal stories. But I want to tell those kind of stories, but also incorporate features or people that haven't yet been featured as superheroes. So for example, we're going to have an autistic superhero coming up very soon. We're going to have a superhero from India who's from the historically what's called the untouchable tribe. We're going to have that. We're going to have superheroes dealing with self-esteem issues. We're going to have heroes dealing with depression, being overweight, you name it. We're touching it. OCD, ADHD, all that stuff. We're going to touch on that stuff because we want your kids represented. We want your kids' classmates represented. We want pretty much every kid you know to have a superhero that looks like them, that still does heroic things despite any limitations and setbacks. Okay, so that's what Braver New World is all about. We're really trying to equip these kids with the ability to find that thing inside of them that makes them special. We want to help them understand that different is okay. Not only is it okay, different is powerful. Different is what defines you. Different is what you need to be when your friends are trying to take you down the wrong path. We want to celebrate that difference, but not just difference for difference's sake. We want you to use that difference, use your uniqueness to make the world better for somebody else. So that's what a Braver New World is all about. I'm about to go down to Disney in a few days to present over there. I'll be presenting at KidCon to a number of kids. I'm really excited about that. I'll also get to talk to a lot of mom and dad bloggers, social media influencers in the parenting niche, all in Disney where it first started. This is not just any old Disney. For me, Disney World is where my ignition, where my superpower was first discovered. I was 10 years old. I grew up in Nigeria, but I was 10 years old and my family flew myself and my parents flew us to Orlando, to Disney World for 3 days. And when I set foot on Magic Kingdom, I said, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to change the world. And of course, everybody said it wasn't practical. So, you know, I got a degree in computer science and I got an MBA in marketing. And after going all the way around the circle, I ended up back at where I was when I was 10 years old. Listen, guys, your kids are not too young to have a vision, to have an inspiration, to have that spark of how they can make the world a better place. We all have something unique to contribute. So it doesn't mean they can't do it as an engineer or as a computer scientist. They can. And I did my part in corporate jobs for well over a decade. But now this is the job that I have. This is my calling. This is my purpose. This is my own one little unique superpower, okay? So, you know, maybe a grown man shouldn't be going to Barnes & Noble reading Spider-Man comic books. If you don't tell anyone, I'm not going to tell them myself either. But listen, this is what I do. This is who I am, and I celebrate. I finally learned after so many years to celebrate What makes me unique? Because what makes me unique is actually able to help the world in a unique way. That's what a braver new world is all about. I thank you for the privilege to mentor to your kids, to inspire your kids, and to inspire the kids around you. Help me spread the word. Contribute your superpower, whatever that is. I want to work with you. I want to help us to reach these kids, and not just our kids again, but a lot of kids out there don't have adults who are advocating for them. A lot of these kids need someone to speak up for them and say, I see you. I see you. I see that you exist. I see you have something to contribute despite how you've been labeled. Whether you've been labeled ADD, ADHD, depressed, whatever it is, academically unsound or unfit. I don't care what the label is, okay? You fall down 7 times, you get up 8. Life is all about the getting up. It's not avoiding the falling down. It's about the getting up. Let's go, people. I'll see you guys in Disney World. Thank you for coming on this journey with me. Peace.